Back in my day, D&D was better. Now it's been overrun by theater kids with 12-page backstories. Echo forever!
Not so fast, Angry Dwarf. This divide between technical, tactical gamers and role players has been going on as long as the tabletop role-playing game hobby has existed, way back since the earliest days of Dungeons & Dragons in the 1970s. There was actually a book written about it in 1983, and as far as I know, no other dungeon tuber has discussed it until now, today on Dungeon Craft. Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor DM, and this channel is about tabletop role-playing games.
Like, subscribe, bell, comment, newsletter.
Back in the 1980s, I had an amazing game master, and I asked him how he did it, how he was able to consistently create scenarios that just appeal to all his players. And he said if you really want to be a great game master, you have to understand the motivations of your players. And he gave me a book called Shared Fantasy by Gary Allen Fine. I remember there was only one copy of this book in the entire New York City library system because it was an academic book. It wasn't a mass market paperback. It was either a master's thesis or a PhD thesis. And this guy said, if you read this, you're going to understand your players so much better. And he was right. It's one of the books that really changed the course of my life, aside from Dungeons & Dragons. It's probably one of the reasons why I started this channel, because I'm really interested in the psychology of game mastery. Now, Gary Allen Fine is not a psychologist. He's a sociologist working at Northwestern University and the Center for Advanced Behavioral Sciences. In 1983, he published Shared Fantasy, a sociological study of role-playing gamers in the late 1970s in the Minnesota area. Fine studied and played lots of tabletop role-playing games, including Dungeons & Dragons, Traveller, Chivalry and Sorcery, and Empire of the Petal Throne, and even game mastered himself. And he played with clubs, conventions, and home games, and studied player motivations, player styles, and how different game masters approach their craft. And he embedded himself with this culture for 3 years, from 1977 to 1979. And it's important to remember, this is pre-internet. He wasn't able to contact different game groups around the country. Rather, he focused on one specific area. But what's interesting is, I and my friends who were in New York City, we noticed the exact same patterns. Fine separated the players into two broad categories based on their motivations. The first were the gamers. For a gamer, a character is largely an extension of themselves. Characters are avatars, and gamers play to win. They're interested in mechanics, rules, building powerful characters, and beating the game on its own terms. Playing optimally and making optimal tactical decisions are of paramount importance. The other group is the role players. Role players play a character different from themselves, and fidelity to that character is paramount. They will make choices based on their character's preferences, even if it's not the optimal move. They may even adapt a different voice or mannerisms while portraying this character. Now, this is not to say there's only two types of players. Most are a mixture, but their preferences will fall in one of these two spheres. And just because someone is an actor by trade doesn't mean they're necessarily a role player. And just because someone doesn't read every rule doesn't mean they're not a gamer. As a game master, you want to understand your players' motivations for playing the game so you can better meet their expectations and deliver a game they want to play. As a player, you want to be able to express your preferences to a game master or a group so that you can find the group that's right for you, that shares your interests and motivations. But no matter what type of player you are, you're going to love Knock Issue 5 from Merry Mushman, kickstarting now. New monsters, new essays, new rules, random tables, magic items, classes, and adventures. Knock is filled with great materials for your OSR and D&D games, whether you play Shadow Dark or Old School Essentials, featuring heavy hitters like Antoine Bowser, Chris McDowell, Luke Gearing, and more. Tips on creating adventure locations, enemies, how to run a guild-free TPK, tons of useful stuff. Just pledge you will not be sorry. Whether you're a D&D head or an OSR weirdo, you're going to love Knock. When Knock arrives in my mailbox, it is the happiest day of my year. And you've got a day or two left to pledge. Trust me, do it. You will not be sorry. Link below. On with the show. Going back to the 1980s, after I read the book, my game master said, observe our players carefully, because we played in the same player group, and let me know what you think about what motivates them. And sure enough, the patterns began to emerge. I started very much as a technical player. I was a rules lawyer. I was really into the mechanics of the game. But eventually, as I started playing more games like Call of Cthulhu and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which is ironic because it's called Warhammer, you would think it'd be more sort of military oriented. It's actually more of a role-playing game. I started creating characters that were unlike me and trying to embody them, and yes, I did other voices. The most recent game I played in as a player was Pulp Cthulhu, which is an excellent game from Chaosium. The Game Master put a bunch of characters on the table and said we could pick from them, and there was a PI and a Mafia Enforcer, but I immediately gravitated toward the actor, and while everybody else was assigning their skill points and buffing out their characters, I was trying to cultivate a voice for this actor, like maybe he spoke with a mid-Atlantic accent, and I decided his name was Grant Revel. I'm Grant Revel. I'm an actor. You may have seen me in such films as Sinister, The Man from Gibraltar, and The Continental Op. And I started scrolling and trying to find like what actors and directors were working at the time, just so I could drop them into the game. And when it came to assigning skill points, I assigned them all in things that were absolutely not useful. Grant Revel cannot drive a car, cannot fix a car, can't throw a punch, can't shoot a gun. All he can do is act, and he's got a pretty good credit rating. I like the idea of this hapless everyman kind of character who's thrown into extraordinary circumstances, like Cary Grant in the film North by Northwest. That's where I got the Grant Revel idea. If I was forced to play a barbarian, I'd probably play one that has like strong control over his emotions and he never rages. If I was forced to play a bard, I'd make him all morose and depressing, and he only sings Tiger Lily songs. You dream of a better day alone with the moon. Right now, 99% of the people watching this video are like, what the hell is he talking about? But there's like one guy who thinks this is their favorite Dungeon Craft video, and buddy, I made this video for you. In my own game, I had this scenario called the Blood Countess, and in it, one of the players decided to fall in love with this beautiful noblewoman. And it was a mystery, and as the players started putting together the clues, they started realizing that she was kidnapping peasants and bathing in their blood to retain her youth and beauty. But the guy that was in love with her kept making excuses for her, like maybe she was framed, and then later on, you just don't understand her. She's had a very tough life. And he really played it up to the point where when she was escaping through a secret door, he didn't stop her. And I know what he was going for. He was going for that 1960s Batman vibe where Batman was kind of in love with Catwoman and torn between letting her go and turning her into the law. And the players became increasingly frustrated with him because he kept staying in role. At one point, they were closing in on her, and they decided to fireball him just because they thought he might protect her. And he was pretty burned, literally and figuratively. But there was a lot of tension in the group because they were like, dude, why are you messing us up? She's clearly the bad guy. We have to destroy her. And he was pissed at them because they were metagaming and they didn't really know what was in his character's head. Plus, they almost fried him. You can also see this tension manifest in Season 1 of Critical Role. And Matt, if you're watching this, I'm sorry for bringing it up, but I find it's very instructive for new game masters and even experienced game masters. So, Season 1, there was a player, Orion Okaba, who played this character, Tiberius Stormwind, who was a dragonborn sorcerer, very powerful. He was sort of a main player character, if you know what I mean. And early on, the players encountered a beholder, and Tiberius decided to sit out the encounter. Orion actually admitted that the reason he sat out the fight is because he knew the beholder had resistances to his spell, and he didn't want to waste any. He saw the game primarily as a competition, a conflict between the players and the game master, with the game master being an adversary. Later on in his last episode, Orion bought 10,000 mirrors in an attempt to build a space laser that could harness the power of the sun so he could kill a vampire. And if you think the show is scripted, you can see Matt's brow furrow, and he's thinking, like, what the hell are you doing? And if you've ever had that player that keeps everything secret from the players and the game master, it's probably because they're thinking, okay, if I do something outside the box, the game master is going to make counter moves against me, so I don't want to reveal anything. And eventually, Travis shut Orion down and said, look, your turn is over, we're moving on. Even though Orion was a professional actor, like Tiberius had a different voice, he still was a gamer at heart, and that caused tension in the group. The rest of the Critical Role understood that the reason why people watch Critical Role is to watch them play characters. Viewers are still interested in the combats insofar as they want to see what happens to the characters that they love so much, not because of the mechanics themselves. Contrast this with Marisha Ray. At one point, Kalith, it might have been Laudna, saw something so shocking, she said, you know what? She's stunned. I'm just going to pass this turn. And it's not because her character failed a die roll. What was important to Marisha was fidelity to that character. She perceived that the character would be shocked, so she played it out, even though it wasn't the optimal move. Sam did the same thing with Fresh Cut Grass. Spoiler alert, Fresh cut grass sacrifices himself, and it was a very emotional moment. Now, a gamer might see the character dying as losing the game, but Sam doesn't see it that way. He's trying to provoke an emotional reaction from the other participants and the audience, and that he did exquisitely, because he's an actor at heart. And yeah, he knows the rules, and so does Travis, but there's still more on the role-playing side.
Like and subscribe, it really helps the channel.
If your players are all gamers, it's easy to design scenarios for them. All you need is a bunch of boxes, rooms connected by hallways, filled with monsters, traps, and treasures, and they're going to be happy. Don't bother creating political intrigue scenarios or mysteries, because those types of players just aren't going to appreciate them, and it doesn't mean they're playing the game wrong. It's just not their preference. If you have those players and you're frustrated because you want to do something different, you might try a different game like Dread or Blade Runner, which really leans into the role-playing aspects. If you've got role players and they enjoy talking to the innkeeper or the shepherdess for a half an hour, they'll almost write their own scenarios, because they're going to get into relationships. And then if you pay attention, you can spin those off and use them as adventure hooks. There are also great political intrigue scenarios like Power Behind the Throne for the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game. That's from Cubicle 7. And even if you don't play Warhammer, if you like political intrigue, you should get that one. They're about 20 major NPCs. So if you like hamming it up as a game master and doing different voices, there are tons of NPCs that you can play, and tons for your players to interact with. It's a very complex mystery. You almost need a cork board and red string to figure out what's what, but players who love role-playing and mystery are going to love it. You can also check out my own scenario, Frankenstein, available from Quest Givers. I'll include a link below, and it presents a moral quandary. Who is the real monster? Role players love that kind of thing. I played it recently with Kelsey Dion, the creator of Shadow Dark, Baron DeRopp from Dungeon Masterpiece, and Bob Worldbuilder, and they had a great time because they're role-playing types. So what kind of player are you, and what kind of player are your players? Sound off in the comments below. Also below, you'll find a link to Shared Fantasy, as well as my Patreon, where you get access to my GM's notebook, an exclusive Discord server, and bonus video content. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'll see you soon. May all your rolls be 20s. So, Deathbringer, are you a gamer or a role player?
Role player.
Really?
I'll have you know I acted with McKellen.
You acted with Sir Ian McKellen.
No, McKellen. And it was a scene, believe me.
I'll bet.
For more role-playing tips, click on these videos.